Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. So it's been a while since I decided to do a stupid reforging challenge, and perhaps I thought it would be fitting to do something dumb with my 20th Chainblade reforge. And Tempest presented the perfect opportunity to do so. That's right, you all read the title, you already know what it is. I decided with my crazy self that I was going to do a Tempest only reforge. The only thing I would be allowed to use to deal damage is Tempest and nothing else, and I would have to make it from level 1 to level 20. And somehow, even though along the way I ended up one-shotting quite a few behemoths, this was a very painful reforge. So let's see why that was the case. Consider dropping a like if you enjoy, and if you enjoy Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. I post Dauntless content here all the time. So first thing is first, if you haven't seen the previous video about Tempest being able to one-shot behemoths, that is going to be the build that I would recommend if you wanted to do this sort of thing. The build I used in this actual run was slightly different, however the featured build in the previous video would be better to run. And even with that build, I feel like there would be some more optimizations that could be made to it. Second up, there is a timer going on, just more so to let you guys know how long I've been suffering with the challenge, but it's not exactly a speed run. There are several factors that happened during this that probably lost me a good hour or more of time on this reforge, so it ended up being not all that serious. But let us begin, and of course I start off by reforging my chain blades. I decided I would start off with a 1 to 13 shock escalation, as I was thinking I kind of wanted to have a bit of variety in the scenery of what was going on, even though really in the end this ended up being almost entirely frost escalations. Our first behemoth was Nezaga, which I was able to take out in about a minute and 15 seconds. Now for a fully stacked build, even at level 1, this is pretty slow. But of course you would expect that from how Tempest works, as you're going to have to wait on the behemoth to give you an attack to dodge before you can actually deal damage. This is sort of like the don't throw the first punch reforge challenge, if you will. You can make use of certain escalation modifiers though to be able to get credit for dodging things more often. One such modifier being the shock snails, which I ran into on round 3. One of the best amps to get in escalation for this sort of challenge is the mantle abilities, which will give you no sprinting cost and increased movement speed while you're sprinting. It took me a little bit under 8 minutes to complete the first escalation, meaning I already lost about 5 minutes off of a regular build. At first I decided I wouldn't want to use any bounty tokens to level up, at least at the very beginning of the run. I ended up using a total of 5 bounty tokens for this, which you could reasonably get in one day from your daily login core as well as a potential patrol key. After the first round of the next escalation, I ended up at level 4, about 11 minutes in. Frost escalation would be where I spent most of the time during the reforging challenge, as there is a lot of passive move speed from the escalation skill tree as well as good amps that will give you either a lot of move speed or a good deal of crit damage. Since I have the Slayer's Club, I have a little bit of bonus experience that are making things a little bit quicker, meaning I made it to level 5 before the end of the second escalation around 15 minutes in. Next up, I decided I would hop into a 1 to 13 Terra escalation next before I would continuously subject myself to specifically Frost escalation. Though this is a recurring theme throughout the run, I should have just stayed in Frost escalation to make things faster, because the Terra escalation took about 8 minutes to complete, taking longer than the previous Frost escalation even though I had leveled up some. After doing that and another Frost escalation, I was halfway through level 7, a bit over a half hour in. I then decided I wanted to check out what would go on in the hunting grounds. Although the first behemoth I decided to fight was a quill shot, and you know what it did right away without even trying to attack me first? It healed. The problem with behemoths healing isn't even them getting the HP, honestly, it's more that they aren't attacking me, which means I can't attack it. So after it healed, I immediately said screw it and went back to escalation, the whole process wasting a solid 3 minutes. Reaching level 8 about 40 minutes in, this is when I got my first one shot of the run against a Ragetail Gnasher on round 4. I was almost able to do the same to the Pengar that was with it, but I had to settle for killing it in 2 hits. Beyond this point is when I consistently started one-shotting the behemoths on the later rounds of Frost escalation 1 to 13. After a couple more escalations, I decided I would hop into the hunting grounds again, this time being Hades Reach. After fighting a Hellion for a minute and a half, only being able to deal about 1300 damage to it at a time, this was going nowhere pretty quickly. And it went nowhere even quicker when the Hellion decided to heal. And once again, I said, alright, I'm out of here. I decided to go back to Frost escalation, this time jumping into the hunting grounds, wasted about 5 minutes. At a little bit under an hour in, I reached level 10. And at this point, I thought I would try out how the 10 to 50 escalations might go. I will say that one of the most annoying things about Tempest is that you can over-teleport and just go straight through the behemoth and lose all of the damage that you are going to deal, which happened to me several times during a fight with a Rezakiri on round 3 of the escalation, which ended up almost killing me because of frostbite. But this first 10 to 50 escalation ended up taking me 19 minutes to complete. With that being the case, I figured I would see if the hunting grounds got any better. Perhaps I was going insane, as I kept trying to go into the hunting grounds for fights, and the behemoths just kept healing after a while, making me want to leave each time. After spending about 3 minutes to kill a Frost Gnasher, which, no surprise, it healed, I decided to go back into Escalation, but this time into a 10 to 50 Terra Escalation, which ended up taking over 21 minutes. I figured at the rate I was completing the 10 to 50 escalations, it would be faster for the time being to just keep doing the 1 to 13 escalations, because I would still be gaining about 500 to 700 experience for a 5-minute hunt versus getting about 1600 experience from a 20-minute escalation. So because of all of this, the progress was dramatically slowed down. At an hour in, I was at level 10, but at 2 hours and 7 minutes in was when I reached level 13. Ideally at this point you would be able to be level 15 or 16 with the pace that I was going on from the first hour, but a bit too much time ended up getting wasted. I decided to try to rock the 1 to 13 escalations until level 14, where again I would try to jump into the hunting grounds. 2 fights took me nearly 10 minutes for about 500 experience, and it was at this point I was really concerned with how long it was actually taking me to do the whole thing, since I had to be on Twitch later the day. So I decided to jump into one final 1 to 13 escalation before I would hop into 10 to 50 escalation for the rest of the time. Remember how we only went up 3 levels between hour 1 and hour 2 of this challenge run? Yeah, we only reached level 15 by the 3-hour mark. This is why this reforge was painful. From being at level 10 after an hour, I would have estimated being at least level 18 by this point. So by then, my morale for how fast the progress was going was lacking. But on the bright side, because of some kind amp choices, at level 15 I was able to complete the Frost Escalation in about 8 minutes. However, the escalation after that one took 16 minutes, and this is also how this was one of the most painful reforging challenges because of just how inconsistent it would be from run to run. I was level 16 at 3 hours and 20 minutes in, and I reached level 17 about 20 minutes later. It was at this point I decided I would go ahead and use a few bounties to go ahead and finish up this reforge. And because I didn't want the last few levels to take an hour each. It actually took the use of the bounties to keep me on track with gaining a level every 20 minutes at this point, and it took another 20 minutes and 2 more escalations after level 18 to reach level 19. When I got back to Ramsgate after that, I was able to claim 3 bounties, a bronze, a silver, and a gold, which brought me to almost all the way to level 20. I thought I might as well end off the challenge by trying to take down one of the behemoths on the Blazeworks, and I decided to try and go after a level 22 Shroud. See, one of the main things with the Tempest damage bonus is it's multiplicative with other damage bonuses, which I do not have outside of the escalations with the particular build I had. But in this fight I ended up hitting it for anywhere between 2300 damage and 300 damage, and that 300 was on an unbroken part because I never broke any parts in this fight. But after a little over 6 minutes of fighting the Shroud, it fled the scene, announcing its disgrace for me. However, being only a little bit away from max level, I decided to just take out some fauna for the final bit of experience. Fun fact, the fauna on the Blazeworks will actually give you 8 experience per kill. And of course, I still only used Tempest to take out the fauna. After taking some of them out, and about 4 hours and 33 minutes of the most inconsistent leveling progress imaginable, I was able to reach max weapon level in Dauntless by only using the Tempest omnicell ability. With better planning and maybe a bit more optimized of a build, I could see this sort of thing being done in under 3 hours. And of course, you could cut down the time spent on this by a lot by actually just dealing damage to the behemoths with your weapon. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, consider dropping that like for me and subscribing if you are new. If you want to help support me, consider using my supporter creator code on Epic Games, TheMrTrails. Make sure the A is before the I. And I have been Trevor. I go by TheMrTrails, and I will catch you guys next time.